Hello and welcome to Hanging by a Thread. My name is Ailsa and this is a knitting channel where I talk about what's on my needles, what's been inspiring me, and all things yarny to keep you company while you're crafting. So welcome or welcome back. It's great to have you here. Today I am going to be doing a pattern roundup. We are going to be talking about 25 free patterns that you can knit before the holiday season. So might sound like a tall order, but I think I have some really great ideas for you here. So I am filming this on November 27th. I'm hoping this is going to come out over the weekend following. And so what we're looking at in terms of time frame here, you have about a couple of weeks before the first night of Hanukkah, and I think about 3 weeks before Christmas. Obviously, your timelines may vary if you are seeing people earlier, if you have to post things, but I was looking for some kind of last minute gift knits that you could still squeak in before the gifting season gets into full swing. So that was kind of the idea behind today's video. I'm going to start with some disclaimers. So I know that gift knitting can be a controversial or heated topic within knitting circles. Just to say, I do not think you have to gift knit if you do not want to. I don't think you should be putting a lot of pressure on yourself to do a whole bunch of knitting in these coming weeks. This is really intended not to be a pressurizing thing, but some inspiration if you're looking for some last minute gifts. If there are people on your list you'd like to make a little something for, these are intended to be ideas but not pressure. I have definitely been in the position before where I have been frantically trying to make things and it has not been fun, it has not been joyful, and it has ended up not feeling meaningful in the way I would like it to feel meaningful. So I definitely don't endorse pressurizing yourself, and certainly do not endorse putting your hand health, your wrist health, your body's general health at risk through over exerting yourself in order to get gift knits done. So I guess craft responsibly, know your limits, and do not feel you have to make something handmade for everyone on your list. Yeah, and what was my other disclaimer? I know I had another one. So yes, this is absolutely not meant to or intended to be a pressurizing video. So take it for what it is, just some ideas and some fun inspiration, hopefully. I have collected free patterns, and part of that was because I know that this can be a tough time financially for lots of people. And there are so many wonderful free patterns that are out there that can make that little bit of difference in terms of saving a little bit of money here and there. So while I absolutely support buying from designers and supporting the designers with paid patterns, sometimes it's nice to also find some free patterns that can help mitigate the costs of the season. So that's kind of my thinking around why I specifically selected free patterns for this roundup. I had some criteria for what I was picking today. So the first is that, obviously that they're free. The second is that I'm looking only at accessories and homewares. I do not think it is very reasonable to make garments in this time frame. If you think you can whip out a garment in this time frame, you do you, but I am looking at accessories and homewares. I also, for the same reason, looked at DK weight and thicker gauges. I think there's one or two exceptions, which we'll get to in the video, but primarily DK and above. And where possible, I've looked for things where you might be able to do some stash diving, maybe use up some scraps, in fun ways. Again, just ways that you can use what you have and still make something really beautiful. I think sometimes we think that scrappy projects or stash diving means that it's going to be less than, and we can be reluctant to give those as gifts. But scrappy doesn't have to mean, less than, or just because you're diving from your stash doesn't mean that you are not giving something of value, you absolutely still are. The yarn is still valuable, your time is still valuable, your craftsmanship is still valuable. So yeah, just was looking for opportunities where you might be able to use some odds and ends that you already have. Oh, I have another disclaimer. I remembered, I knew I had one more. So while I'm saying these are gifts that you could make before the holidays, obviously this is no guarantee. I do not know how fast you knit. I do not know what else you have on your needles right now. I don't know how much time you have, what other commitments you have. Yeah, I don't know how many people you have to knit for. So I'm not guaranteeing that these can be done in the next couple of weeks. I'm certainly not guaranteeing that you could make all 25 of these patterns. I think that's highly unlikely, although maybe there's some speed knitters out there who could. So this isn't, I'm not offering any guarantees, but these are ones that I think it's plausible that you could knit at least one or two of these over the next period. So yeah, so just trust what you know about your own capability and your capacity, and proceed accordingly. Before we jump into the pattern roundup, I will also just share that today I am wearing my California sweater. I will put some details about that in the description box down below. As always, you will be able to find more information in that description box. I'll be sharing a link to a bundle where all of these patterns will be collected, along with a whole bunch more that I just don't have time to talk about in today's video. But yeah, all that information will be down below, so just give that a look. Okay, let's get into the patterns. I'm going to be doing this by category, and so we are going to start off with hands. So first on my list, we have the Wesley Bulky Mittens by Galt House of Yarn. Galt House of Yarn is a local yarn store not too far away from where I live in Ontario. It is, and this pattern is, as the name suggests, Wesley Bulky, a bulky weight mitten pattern. The suggested gauge is 14 stitches per 10 centimeters, and the needle size suggested are US 10 or 6mm needles and US 8 5mm needles. This pattern was just released very recently, November 2025, so it is a brand spanking new pattern. What I like about this, like, one, like a bulky pair of mittens, it's going to go really, really fast. These are a very classic looking pair of mittens. There's nothing really fancy here, but just a very solid traditional kind of style mitten. But the thing that really caught my eye about this is that it has a liner, which, like bulky, alpaca, these things are already saying warmth to me. But the idea that you're knitting a liner is just, I can feel the coziness. So if you live in a colder climate, or if you have giftees who live in a colder climate, having this extra layer of warmth just sounds so delightful for the deep, dark winter days. So the way that they describe the construction is as follows. The outer is knit first from cup to tip, then the inner is picked up from the cuff and knit to the tip before being tucked inside the outer. So it doesn't sound super complicated, but just a really lovely extra level of warmth to have that double layer. I also really like that in the sample they show, they don't have a ton of photos and there aren't many projects on this, but I do like that you can see in the sample that the liner they've done in a different color. So they have kind of this royal blue outer and the liner in a gray. I think that's really pretty. And again, might be a great way to use up if you've just got a little bit of one color and a little bit of another. You can kind of do that matching those together and maybe use up some of what you have. They do only come in one size, and it's not 100% clear to me what size that is. So you might have to, fiddle around a bit to make sure it's going to fit your intended recipient. But then again, with bulkier mittens, there's a little bit more leeway because you expect them to kind of just be a little bit bigger. But you might have to do some fiddling around. But again, because it's quite a basic pattern, I think adjusting stitch counts and things wouldn't be too tricky. I haven't made this pattern, but I have made a pattern from Galt House of Yarn's pattern library before, which we will talk about in a little bit. And I did find it very easy to follow and a very successful project. So I can at least speak to, I've had some success with their patterns before. But yeah, I think this one could be a really lovely and quick make. Next up, we have the Steady Stockinette Mitts by Alison Schmidt. This pattern also comes with a bonus because there is the Steady Stockinette hat. It's kind of sister pattern that is also free, so you could always make a set of a matching hat and mitts, but I'm going to focus on the mitts. These are, again, a very recent release, November 2025. Knit at a DK weight. She suggests 2 strands of fingering held together. She says that she worked it with Knit Picks palette held together to get DK, but you could surely also knit just with a single strand of DK weight or a fingering and a mohair. You know, there's options there to get that gauge. The gauge suggested is 21 stitches and 32 rows equals 10 centimeters in stockinette, and is suggesting knitting on a US 3 needle, which is 3.25 millimeters. The sizes available are really great in this pattern. You have a toddler through adult large size range. And these are just really lovely, classic, clean looking fingerless mitts. You have that very kind of clean edging. It looks to me like there's a little bit of a rolled edging, and then you get into some ribbing on all the finishings, and then you've got your straight stockinette, very classic style. One of the reasons I included these is I did think that these were a pretty good dupe for the penny gloves, which I have not made, so I don't know how far these are actually comparable to the penny gloves, but in style, that like very classic, very clean lines kind of look, it had that appeal, but this is so generously offered for free. So, and I know people love making the penny gloves and people make multiples of them. This does feel like the kind of thing that you could just repeat often to get a whole stack of these. So really great option, would suit, I imagine, lots of people, would fit into lots of different people's aesthetics because it's so plain. You could also play with, you know, doing different colors, doing stripes, because it's such a basic in a good way. Lots of opportunities for making this your own or customizing it to your recipient. So lovely pattern there, and something that you could surely give to lots of different people. Next up, we have the Falun Mittens by Sarah Clint. And these ones are a little bit different in that we have some color work. And you'll see throughout this roundup that I have quite a few suggestions that either have color work or cables or lace. And you might think, hang on, isn't that going to take me longer? I quite purposefully included some patterns with some kind of more interesting design elements because, at least personally for me, I know that sometimes I actually feel more motivated and go quicker when I have something a little bit more engaging to work on. And I've tried to think about ones that aren't going to be so involved that it's going to take you a really long time, and that are maybe a heavier gauge, so you get, you know, some more momentum on them. But that's why you will see some of those kind of things in here. For me, that works. Maybe it doesn't for you, and you will know yourself. These are another fairly recent release, September 2025. They are worsted weight. The gauge is 23 stitches and 30 rows, is 10 centimeters. That's interesting because to me that suggests either these are being knitted quite tightly, or I would probably do that at a DK weight, but you could swatch, or you could I would probably just take a gamble and say, I don't think I'm getting 23 stitches and 30 rows on worsted weight, but you know, you can mess around with that as you wish. It is written, it's suggested that you use a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle, and the size just says women. So this is a one size women pattern. They are just these really like quite lovely color work mittens with quite a simple design. It's almost like a checkerboard kind of design. I just think these look really lovely, really stylish, especially for non-knitters. I think things like color work always looks really impressive, even when it's quite simple. And in fact, sometimes the really like simple graphic designs will be quite easy to wear. I love the colors that are in the sample. this kind of like almost like coffee-ish background color, and then this rusty contrast color with the cuff done in the contrast color. I think they look so lovely, but again, as with other options that I'm sharing, you could really mix up the colors in order to suit your recipient. There are a few people who've made these on Ravelry, and again, I love looking at that in order to get some inspiration of how it looks in other people's color choices and when other people have made it. So yeah, there's some good options there for getting some inspiration. The next pattern I have for you are the Glacier Fingerless Gloves by Mirella Moments. These are a bit of an older pattern from December 2021. The suggested yarn is Drops Cotton Merino, which is a yarn I really, really love. I wouldn't have thought about it as a mitten one, but maybe for sort of a lighter mitten for somebody who lives in a warmer climate, which makes sense because these are fingerless mitts and they are lace. So maybe it makes sense that they're using that cotton merino blend. So this is a DK weight pattern. The suggested gauge is 21 stitches and 32 rows. Suggested needle size US 4, which is a 3.5, and US 6, which is a 4mm. Comes in one size, adult medium. These are just, yeah, they're really pretty. They're just like very delicate. They have quite a simple kind of lace pattern going up the hand. I think they just look that little bit more fancy than a plain mitten, but still look quite easy to achieve and to complete. So again, like has that high like that ratio of effort to reward is quite good on this one. I feel that it's going to look really impressive without it being too complicated, taking you too much time. So I think this could be really nice for somebody that has a little bit more of that like feminine style aesthetic, and maybe someone who's in not quite so chilly a climate. Okay, and finally in my hands category, I have the Arcade Mittens from Espace Tricot, which is a yarn shop in Montreal. Quebec, certainly. I'm pretty sure they're in Montreal. These are Aran weight mittens that use Noro Kurion and Plymouth Yarns Homestead, knitted at an 18-stitch gauge with US 7 4.5mm needles. It offers two sizes, an 8 and an 8 3/4 inches hand circumference. I really love these. They're so fun and playful. Again, you've got some color work, but this is using slip stitches, so you're only ever working one color at a time to get that effect. And this one I really liked as a stash buster because they specifically note in the pattern description, these fun and quick knit mittens are a great way to use up that leftover colorful yarn or hand spun, as you only need about 10 yards for your contrast color. That's fantastic. I love that. That's a real scrap buster. So if you have any color changing yarn, or any kind of just like fun colorful yarn that would contrast well with I really like how they've done the darker color here with these kind of neons, but I'm sure there are lots of different ways you could do it. It just looks really, really fun, and I think they're so well named. Again, there's a fair number of projects that you can see on Ravelry, so you can get some ideas about how different colored yarns look in this. You can also see that some people have done it without a color shifting yarn, so I think that's nice as well to see the what it looks like if you're doing something without that color shifting yarn, and they still look really great. They look like a really fun project, and I think they have just enough whimsy for that person in your life who has that more whimsical vibe. I will just say, I apologize if the lighting feels a little bit gloomy. It has got dark and it has started snowing here, which is very, fitting the vibes, but yeah, the lighting situation is a little bit, well, it is what it is right now. So the next category I'm going to talk to you about is hats, and we'll start with another Espace Tricot pattern, which is the Night Blooms hat. This one's from 2020, another one that's a little bit older. This one is another color work. It's such a beautiful color work. I'm actually really obsessed with this one, and I would really like to make it. It's a worsted weight pattern. 22 stitches and 23 rows is the suggested gauge, using US 6 4mm needles and US 8 5mm needles. It does come in one size with a finished circumference of 19.5 inches. So they have this very, very, like, it almost makes me think of like filigree, or like the end papers of, like a fancy old book. This like very dramatic, striking pattern that they've done in these beautiful high contrast colors. So the samples they have one that's in kind of like black and gold, and then they have one that's like a turquoise and gold. They are so beautiful. They just look so luxurious. I think it is like 90% of the pattern photos are what's selling me on this one, but also I think it is a lovely pattern. So this one I think just feels like it would be a great knit. It looks like it would be really fun. I love this kind of color work. And yeah, just such a striking design that I think would be really impressive to open. As I said, there are quite a lot of projects on Ravelry, so you can kind of see some different options of how people have knitted it, and they all look really lovely. There's lots of different color combinations, and the color combinations really do make it have like quite a different vibe. So yeah, definitely check that out if you're interested in this one. Next, we have the Leni Hat by Isabel Kramer. Another slightly older pattern from December 2019. This is a hat knitted with a fingering and a lace held together for a DK weight at a gauge of 21 stitches and 32 rows, using US 4 3.5mm needles and US 6 4mm needles. So I love how this hat both looks quite classic, quite simple in a good way, but then has this like beautiful band of texture around the body of the hat, I guess, that to me is almost evocative of fir trees. And that's why I chose this, because it has that real wintry look. And I love how that texture just creates that illusion of fir trees. I just think this is like one that's quietly interesting. It's not over the top with kind of colors or textures. It's not an all over cable pattern, for example, but it's just got that little bit of interest that kind of sets it apart from a more basic plain project. So that's really, really lovely to see. It comes in 3 sizes, so you have some options there, and there are a really large number of projects on this one, over 2,000, so you can definitely get lots of inspiration and see lots of different projects and read lots of different notes on how people have approached this one, which I always love to peruse project notes and see how people have made projects their own. So yeah, just I think this could be a really lovely option for someone on your list. Okay, next up we have the Antler Toque by Tin Can Knits. Most people are probably aware that Tin Can Knits is a fantastic resource for some free patterns. They have their simple collection. Yeah, they have a whole host of really lovely free patterns that you can look at, and many that would have worked on this list, although I've only chosen one. But I've chosen to share this one because I have in fact made this one. So let me put this on for you. This is my Antler Toque. It is an all over cabled pattern. So this is a much older pattern. It comes from 2012. It's intended to be knit with worsted weight yarn. I did whole DK double for mine. Its gauge is 18 stitches using US 6 4mm and a US 8 5mm needle. It comes in sizes from baby to adult large. And it has over 13,000 projects on Ravelry. So lots of people have made this hat. Very, very enjoyable hat to make. So it does have this like very simple to memorize and to do cable pattern that runs all the way up the hat, but that has like that very classic cabled hat look to it. Let me just roll my brim a bit there, which I think, you know, it's kind of, it works for multiple styles because it feels so classic. You know, it feels to me fairly gender neutral. I think it can work for young and old. So I think there's a lot of possibility with this one, and I have really enjoyed my one. I know that I knit this relatively fast, so it looks like I knit this in about a week, so definitely fits the fast. I did do some modifications, which I will just share given I have actually made this one. I did a double folded brim where I did 15 rounds of ribbing, then 2 rounds of double knitting, and then 15 rounds of ribbing. I did less repetitions of the cable chart. I did 5, and I think that's meant to be 8 or something. I kind of wish I'd done 6, but you know, there we go. But anyway, it is, I didn't change much, but this was a really fun one to knit, and it did work up fast, and I definitely recommend it. The next hat on my list is another one that I have made, but I can't show it to you because I gifted it last year. This is the Hill 60 hat by Galt House of Yarn, once again, another one that's slightly older from April 2018. It is a worsted weight pattern and a gauge of 20 stitches using a US 7 4.5 millimeter needle. It comes in 3 sizes: baby, child, adult. So this is a very kind of classic style hat where you've got I believe it's 2x2 rib on the brim, and then you've got a broader ribbing on the sort of body crown of the head, and they describe it as a classic kind of watch cap style. And yeah, it's meant to be worn kind of like more closely to the head. It's not like a slouchy beanie, it's much more like kind of fitted to the head, which was the look I was going for. I was making this for my dad last year. He had requested a new hat from me, and I was kind of looking for something that was going to work for him. And this felt like the style. This felt like the dad style to me anyway, and for my dad. I used Lion Brand Woolies in a deep navy color. This was a really quick knit for me. I knit it in 3 days because I was under a time crunch last year. I'd actually started making a different hat pattern and just didn't like how it was working out. So I frogged it and then in a bit of a panic knit this one. But it was doable and it went really nicely, and I really liked the finished result, and it has been worn a lot. So this one I can definitely recommend. And yeah, it was very easy to follow, turned out beautifully, and has been worn. So yeah, if you're looking for kind of that more classic ribbed look, this one might be for you. Finally, in the hat category, this is another recent release from this month. It's the If You Knit You Know hat. From Pearl Soho, another great resource for free patterns. They have so many very well-known free patterns. So this is a slightly lighter weight one. This is a sport weight rather than a DK weight, so I kind of broke my rule there, but it was too good not to include. So the gauge on this one is 26 stitches and 38 rows using a US 3 3.25 millimeter needle and US 4 3.5 millimeter needle, and it comes in sizes baby through to large. And the reason I was including this is because it comes with charts for duplicate stitching these really, really fun motifs onto your hat. So the way they describe it is that you're getting a simple folded hem where you're having a very smooth stockinette, basic, classic, clean lines with folded hem hat. And then you have the option to include their charts they're duplicate stitch motifs where you're going to add in some knitting terminology. You have knit one, purl one, knit two together, slip, slip, knit. I just love the idea of if you have a knitting friend or maybe from your knitting group, you could make this hat and have, maybe you could all have matching hats or like in the theme. I just love the idea of this for your crafty friends. So yeah, it was too good not to include this. I don't know. Yeah, I just love it. I also like that they do note that you could also make your own charts to, you know, have initials or your own inside joke. Yeah, just a really fun one. And I think you could do this in the next couple of weeks, but even if it doesn't happen now, something to save for the future. Next, we are going to move into the category of neck, things that go around your neck. And we're actually going to continue on the Pearl Soho train with the hood scarf. This is a pattern that came out in October 2023. This is actually another sport weight. I guess I didn't realize that I had two sport weight ones here from Pearl Soho, but we'll talk about it anyway. This one might be a little bit more ambitious to get done, but we'll see. So the gauge is 42 stitches and 29 rows in 2x2 ribbing. Knit on US 4 3.5 millimeter needles. And it is going to be more of a big project because the meterage you'll see on this is quite a bit more than some of the other projects. But essentially what you're getting here is a scarf that can also be a hood. And it comes in two sizes. So adult extra small to small and adult medium to large. So part of the reason I included this is I know that like the whole hoods and hooded scarves and all of that are having a moment, and I wanted to find a free alternative, something that might dupe the Sophie hood a little bit. Yeah, because there's the Sophie scarf, the Sophie shawl, the Sophie hood. So this slightly dupes the Sophie hood, although this is obviously in rib, not in garter stitch. And I just thought this looked really clean and lovely. I loved the shaping on the hood. It looks like it sits really well. I love the 2x2 ribbing details. Very clean, very minimal. So yeah, this one for me would be more of a stretch to get done in the time frame, but maybe you're a lot quicker than me. And I just think it kind of has that very on trend kind of feeling, but like, you know, also still very simple and classic. So could be a really good choice if you think you can get it. Next up, we have the Breeze Louise cowl by Laura Dobrat. This is a much older pattern from all the way back in March 2010. Sometimes I really love, you know, going back and finding older patterns and, you know, realizing that there is a treasure trove for, you know, centuries, of course, but, you know, also even in more recent history, we sometimes forget about the things that aren't like the right here, right now patterns. So this was a lovely find of something that's a little bit older. It's knit up at a worsted weight with 12.5 stitches and 16 rows to 10 centimeters on US 9 needles. That's 5.5 millimeters. It is one size as a cowl, but it is, as it suggests, easily adjustable. And this one is just like a really lovely, lacy, but also still cozy looking cowl with a very simple kind of eyelet pattern. That I just think looks really chic and effortless and also quite easy to knit, but gives this really kind of polished, finished looking piece. Yeah, I just think this could be one to really use a lovely single skein and just let like it shine. Yeah, I just think this could be a really fun one and wouldn't take too much time, but have that kind of more wow impact of like the lace pattern. So yeah, maybe this one is one that you want to pick for someone on your list. Okay, up next we have the Gråbo. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. but it's described as a faux turtleneck by Maya Carlson. This one's from October 2023. It's knit at a worsted weight with 16 stitches to 23 rows on US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles. It is a one size pattern. This is like, I guess, I don't know what people call these. Like some people call them a neck, some people call them a dicky. You might just think of this as a cow. But I mean, I think calling it a faux turtleneck is a pretty good description. So it's almost like you have a turtleneck sweater on, but without all of the bulk of having a full sweater. This feels like a great option for somebody who lives in a cold climate and really needs to kind of snuggle and bundle up in the colder months. It's in this kind of thick rib, so it looks very warm and obviously also stretchy because it's in the ribbing, which is probably good given it's one size, but having that stretchiness is going to help you. And yeah, I think it looks like it would be fairly easily adjustable. There's a few people who've made this on Ravelry, about 100 odd people. So yeah, you can see some of how people have worked it, but oh, there's somebody who made it into a dog sweater. I just saw that. That's so cute. You should go check that out. So yeah, I think this one feels like it would be like quite a quick, speedy project. You're not using a huge amount of yardage. It says 131 yards. So definitely you might have something in your stash that would work. And then just a really cozy accessory for someone on your gift list. Next up, we have the Saturday Shrug by Jackie Rose. This pattern is from January of 2023, and it is a bulky weight project with a worsted and a lace weight held together, although I imagine you could just hold a bulky weight single. 18 stitches in the 1x1 rib pattern, knit on US 9 or 5.5 millimeter needles. Again, this is a bit of a bigger one because you've got quite a lot of fabric here. It's suggesting you're going to need 900 to 1,000 yards. So again, maybe going to take a little bit longer, but then it is on those bigger needles and knit up at that bigger gauge. So, you know, it might not take quite so long. But this is this really lovely shrug that's kind of sitting over your shoulders. It looks very cozy in the way that she styled it. Looks very elegant, quite stylish. And obviously you can see there's choices around, you know, are you going to do the stripes? And what width of stripes? You can really change it up. This is another one that has quite a large number of projects, over 1,500 on Ravelry, and you can see some really great different interpretations of this project. I do know as well that Jackie Rose, the designer, has some other of these shrug designs in different styles. I haven't looked through them all extensively. I picked this one because I think it was the largest gauge one. But there are other ones if you want to have a look at some of her other options. But I think for the right person, this could be a really great choice and such a cozy winter warmer to have in your accessory drawer. Okay, I apologize. The lighting did change. It did just get so dark in here that I had to turn the overhead lights on. So apologies for that change. We are going to look at one more in this neck category. And this is the Kilometre scarf by Florence Miller. This pattern is from February of 2023. It is designed to be knit at a DK weight with a lace and a fingering at 20 stitches and 26 rows using US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles. This is the Kilometre scarf because she's suggesting it's going to use exactly 1,000 meters of yarn. So again, a bit of a bigger one, a bit more of a commitment and in this time frame that we're talking about. But I included it because I was just watching last weekend a video from aka Nora Knits about knitting trends, and one of the things she mentioned was kind of like these long shawl like wrap around you scarves that are, you know, very basics, but that look quite stylish and beautiful. And then when I was planning for this video, I saw the Kilometre scarf and I was like, oh, it's just like that trend that Nora was talking about. So I did want to include it. She describes it as a soft, double-layered stockinette scarf with no visible wrong size. It uses 1 kilometre of your preferred DK weight yarn to create a piece that you'll reach for all winter. Obviously, this being a scarf, being a fairly simple rectangle scarf, you can change up the length if you want to, and you can adapt it very easily. I would not get this done in the time, especially because it's stockinette. This would not be something that I could achieve in the time frame we're talking about, but maybe this is the kind of thing that you would just happily knit away on in front of the TV for the next couple of weeks and get done. And maybe there's somebody in your life who would absolutely love it. I love the look of this. It is very clean and classic. It is very beautiful. I kind of want to own it, but I don't really want to knit it, if I'm honest. Oh, and the good news for those of you who hate purling, this is knit in the round. That's how you're getting the double-sided, no visible wrong side kind of thing happening. So you are only going to be knitting this. There is no purling in this scarf. So it's, you know, that's something to bear in mind if that's you. I will also say I've not knit this pattern, but I have knit other patterns from Florence Miller and found them very easy to follow and very successful. So I can endorse her as a pattern writer, if not this pattern specifically. Okay, we are now going to look at feet as our next category. I have in the past made a whole range of socks for people as gift knits, and I feel like socks are such a crowd pleaser in terms of gift giving because they feel so magical to people who aren't knitters. So I like them for that purpose, for that little wow of like, oh my goodness, you made these. And I think these are some ones that you could get done in the next couple of weeks. So the first pair I'm going to share with you are the Scrappy DK Socks by Stephen West. These are stash busting socks where you can use all of those lovely odds and ends in your stash to make some lovely fun socks. I also think like scrappy socks is fun because often people are willing to be a little bit more out there with their socks. So even if they're kind of more plain or neutral in their general dress, sometimes socks are a place that people play. So I think you could have a lot of fun with these. I do like how in the sample that Stephen West shares, he has a consistent cuff, toe, and heel. I think that does really bring it together, and it's something I would consider doing if I were to make these scrappy socks. He does say you can use your DK weight scraps, but of course you could also use your fingering weight held double. And these come in 5 sizes, so a really great range there. They are DK weight socks, as the name suggests. They are 22 stitches and 38 rows, knit on US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. So yeah, and I will just say as well that DK weight socks knit up so surprisingly fast. Like they really do go so much quicker than you would imagine. And in theory, I can knit a pair of fingering weight socks in a week. So, you know, you could definitely do a pair of DK weight socks in a week. Okay, my next pattern is another pair of DK weight socks. These are the Simple DK Shortie socks by Woolfield or Nicole Bracey. And I included these as, you know, if DK socks are a quick make, how much better are DK Shortie socks? So these are, again, knit at a DK gauge, 24 stitches and 36 rows. She suggests US 3 needles, which are 3.25 millimeters, and these come in 3 sizes. So yeah, they're just a very simple sock, knit from the top down, heel flap and gusset, and using your DK weight yarn. I think these, again, just look they're very simple and basic, but you could play with them a little bit in terms of, you know, how you do your, maybe you do your cuff and in a contrast color, maybe you have some really lovely leftover yarn. I think we often end up with, or I often end up with kind of, you know, half a skein of sock yarn and then wondering what to do with it. This might be a great option. And yeah, should knit up really, really nice and quickly. Okay, the next pattern I have for you is breaking my rule quite a bit by telling you that these are fingering weight socks. But these were too cute to not include, and I really want to make these. These are the Kitty ankle socks by Inorga Knit. I hope I'm saying that correctly. They are a fingering weight sock, 32 stitches and 40 rows, knit on US 1. They only come in size small, medium, so a single size. But they're these cute little ankle socks with color work to do a cat on the toe. They are so fun, and they're knit top down. Oh no, sorry, they're not top down. They're toe up socks with a short row heel. These are just so cute. And the reason I broke my rule about the yarn weight is that they are fingering weight, yes, but they're socks, so they're small, and they're ankle socks, so they're extra small, and they are they are too adorable to not make, really. I really want to make these for myself and maybe some other people as well. I love how she has them in the samples where she has them, you know, purposefully mismatched, where she flips the color. So on one sock it's the gray cat with a black background, and the other sock it's the black cat with the gray background. I love everything about her sample. There's a fairly decent number of projects on Ravelry as well. There's over 2,000 projects, so you can see lots of different examples of this. And yeah, I think if you have a cat lover in your life who embraces whimsy in their sock drawer, this would be the perfect gift for them. Moving away from socks and in a very different theme to the last project or pattern. So this is the number 3 Doble Tøfler, I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly, I hope so, pattern, slipper pattern by Liv Stangerland. Again, my apologies if I got that wrong. This is a pattern from Sanders Garn. Unlike, you may have heard that Sanders Garn patterns are really hard to get a hold of because of how they distribute their patterns, but this is available as a free download from their website. This is a bulky weight pattern for making felted slippers. You are doing this at a gauge of 15 stitches using US 9 or 5.5 millimeter needles. So they have 9 options for sizes. And yeah, I included this because I know there are many people, myself included, who have been making the sailor slippers from Annie Sews this season. If you were looking for a free pattern that is similar in idea or vibe to this viral pattern, this is an option for you. So yeah, you can definitely see some people's projects where they've made some modifications in order to achieve that style, if that is what you want to do. But I think even on their own merit, these are a really lovely kind of classic felted slipper, and something that would be very quick to knit up. And my last foot-based pattern is the Fireside Loafer by Sherry Kibler. This is a pattern for Knit Picks. This was published last year, November 2024. This is saying it's categorized as a DK weight pattern, but it also says in the description that you're holding the yarn double. So I guess DK held double is like maybe an Aran. So I'm not 100% certain on that, but the gauge is certainly 15 stitches and 22 rows. So that suggests that you're getting maybe even to a bulky weight. And you're using a US 5 or 3.75 millimeter needle and a US 8 5 millimeter needle. And it comes in sizes small, medium, and large, which they are saying is to fit US women's shoe sizes 5 to 6, 7 to 8, and 9 to 10. These are just really adorable slippers with a lovely colorwork design, like a checked design. I think these look so stunning. They just are really lovely. They're so classic, but like also kind of fun. There's not that many on Ravelry that have been made. But the ones that have been made look really lovely. I do think these look like really fun. It looks like you'd be using a lot of different techniques. So if you're somebody who tends to get a little bit bored when you're making something, this might be for you, because I think you're going to be doing lots of different things and constantly moving on to the next part of the pattern. So I think that could be really engaging and fun. Okay, my final section today is homewares, and I am aware that this video is getting quite long, so I'm going to try and whip through these. But first up, we have the Warm Wishes hot water bottle cover from Pearl Soho. This was also released this year in October. This is a DK weight pattern at 20 stitches and 32 rows, knit on US 6 or 4mm needles. This is just a very, very classic hot water bottle cover. No bells or whistles, just very clean, very classic. Knit one in every color for every member of your family. I think there's not a lot you can go wrong with here. And I don't know about you, I love a hot water bottle, and having a cozy homemade hot water bottle cover just feels so lovely. So yeah, really simple, basic option here, but one that I think could be well appreciated by many people. The second pattern I have for you in the home category is the Woolly Cacti 1 Pattern 3 Looks by Lucille Randall. I just love that these are, I mean, I don't know, these are just adorable knitted cacti. I don't know what else to tell you. They are so cute. Definitely good for stash busting because they're not using very much yarn, and you can play around with how you're making it. I love that in the description she says it doesn't matter if your cactus ends up wobbly, it will just add to the charm. Feel free to try out different shapes. With little crochet flowers, your cacti will bloom all year round. So fun. And then what I also love is if you want to take it to the next level, that you could just have these as little decorative cacti, but she shows them as pin cushions. So if you have a sewist in your life, what an amazing pin cushion present. I just love that that's how she shows them. And I just think that's so fun and funny. So when I saw this, I immediately thought of a few people I would like to make this for, the sewists in my life. So maybe you know someone like that too, who'd appreciate the whimsy and just joy of this pattern. The next pattern I have for you is Main Street from Tin Can Knits, and these are some mug cozies. Several, maybe even 10 years ago, I was roped into helping run a holiday craft fair at a job I was working at. And it was, you know, we were selling our crafts for charity. And I made like 1,000 no, I didn't make 1,000, but it felt like it. I made a huge number of mug cozies to sell at this craft stall for charity. And I don't know, I think they're kind of like a fun little gift. I like to think of this one, I put this in as something like if you were doing a Secret Santa or as a stocking stuffer, you could put one of these in. If there's somebody that you were maybe like, I don't know that I can make you a full-on accessory, but I'd love to put a little something extra in, this is going to be really quick. This is going to be an evening, less than a couple of hours work. So this is a DK weight pattern. It is 22 stitches, knit on US 5 or 3.75mm needles. It is only using 50 yards, so definitely good for using up some odds and ends of your yarn. And this is just a really cute little mug cozy with a cable motif. Yeah, nothing too complicated here, but definitely something for the coffee lovers in your life. Yeah, I think this is a really fun one for if you need something really quick, really small, not going to use a ton of stuff up, but will look like, or will not just look like, will be something thoughtful and homemade. I have another hot water bottle cover for you. This one is a little bit more involved. This is the Snowfall Town hot water bottle cover by Season Chan. I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. This came out in August of 2025. It is knit from fingering plus fingering held together for a DK weight at 22 stitches and 25 rows on US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. And this is just the most adorable color work hot water bottle cover. I definitely want to make this one. This is on my, I don't think I can get this done this year, but this is on my 2026 holiday gift knitting plans. So yeah, this is, I don't know, I love this. It just looks like, well, the writer describes it as a storybook town, and that's exactly the feeling it has. Such cozy vibes, so adorable. Who wouldn't want their hot water bottle covered in this beautiful design? I think it would be really fun to knit and definitely doable in the time frame, especially if you're not got a lot of other things on your needles. I just think, yeah, I want one for myself, and I definitely want to make one as a gift. Okay, and the last pattern I am going to share with you today are the Holly Jolly plant container covers by Karen Marlatt. These just came out this month as well, November 2025. These are knit at a worsted weight, 16 stitches and 24 rows. And they are designed, because they are plant container covers, to fit over 4-inch and 6-inch standard clay pot containers. This is the gift knit for the plant lovers in your life who might want some beautiful decorative covers for their plants for the holiday season. How fun is that? I don't know. I just thought, I saw this and I thought, wow, this is a really cool way to add some festive joy around your house through crafting. And yeah, just really, really fun. These look like they would be very fun to make as well. So there's 3 different designs included in the pattern, written, as it says, for that 4-inch and 6-inch size, but also with information on how to customize the sizes. And yeah, it's got some fun techniques that you can try. So it says magic loop, jogless round, seed stitch, loop stitch, and a super stretchy bind off. So yeah, I think this could be just a very fun way to add some festive cheer to your home, and also another great stash buster to, you know, you could use different colors, different odds and ends of your yarn to create these. Okay, we have run through a lot of patterns here today. I hope you maybe saw some things that inspired you, whether for this holiday season or future holiday seasons, or maybe even just for yourself. You are somebody worth gifting delightful knits to as well. I'd love if you'd let me know down below. Are you gift knitting this year? Have you finished everything already? Is there anything that caught your eye? Would love to hear from you. Would love to hear if you have any favorite gift knitting patterns that I should check out. If you have a go-to gift pattern, always love to get new recommendations. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like and hit the subscribe button if you are not subscribed already. That really does help the channel grow and for other knitters like you to find this content. I am looking forward to being back soon with some other videos for you. And until then, happy knitting, take care of your hands, and I will see you next time. Bye.